Good afternoon, my name is Indica Burnet. I'm a massage therapist and I'm going to be hosting this week's Fusion Health series on self-massage. So I put together a couple of self-massage routines that you can practice in the comfort of your own home. And today we're going to be focusing on our hands and on our forearms. This is super important right now because a lot of us are working from home, so we're spending a lot of time on our laptops, and this can build up a lot of pressure and tension in our hands, in our wrists, and in our forearms. So we want to relieve all of that tension. We want to work at uncoiling and creating space in between our tendons and our muscles in our fingers, in our hand, and then running up through our forearm as well. These massage routines are just quick. They shouldn't take away too much from your day, and you don't need any equipment bar a little bit of oil. So today I'm just using a basic massage oil mix, but you can just use the coconut oil from in your cupboard. And we're just gonna take a tiny little bit of oil. I'm honestly not using too much at all because we still wanna have a nice grip over our forearm and our hand when we get to any kind of deep tissue work. So what we're gonna start off with is just a bit of effleurage. These are just long, nice strokes, applying a little bit of pressure and gripping our forearm, making sure that we also include our palm and our fingers. So treating our forearm, our wrist, and our hand as one whole. And this is a nice way for us to just drop into our body, come out of our mind, and start being a little bit more intuitive in our movements. So what we're going to start off with is working in between our ulna and our radius bone. So if you dig your thumb in between your bones, you will feel that there's a space between where it's all muscle and tissue. So what we're going to do is, working from the elbow, we're just going to do little circular movements all the way down to our wrist. So while we're doing this, we need to keep in mind that we're only applying as much pressure as we feel comfortable with. So you might start off just with really light circles, and then as the tissue warms up, we're going to apply a deeper pressure. So for the purpose of this massage, I'm just going to be working on one arm, but for you at home, we'll be applying these techniques on our left arm and then on our right. So once we get down to the wrist, we're just going to do a couple of nice little circular motions on the wrist, and that's because we can actually build up a lot of tension in our wrist that we really, really want to release, and we want to promote blood flow back down into our hand. So we are just applying little circular motions, still being careful because this is a sensitive area. There's a lot of veins here, so we don't want to apply too much pressure. Once we've sort of warmed up that area, we can also do the same on the other side. You'll feel it's quite a bony area, but there is muscle and tissue in our wrist as well on the lateral side. Alrighty. So then I like to just end with a little bit of an effleurage in our hand again. And then we're going to start doing some deeper work in the hand. So we're just doing large circular motions in our hand, just on our palm, going as deep as you feel comfortable with. And you should actually start feeling a bit of a warming sensation in your hand as circulation increases. Our hands do so much work for us during the day, so we really want to work to release some of that tension. So then we're going to start massaging, applying a deep pressure in between the bones of our hands. These are the bones that attach up and become our fingers. So we want to work in between the fingers in that tissue. And we're going to go in between each one of our fingers, applying specific pressure to that fleshy, meaty part of our thumb, because this is where a lot of people hold tension, and it can also be a pressure point for headaches. So if you experience a lot of headaches, you might want to spend some extra time just here applying sustained pressure in our thumb pad. So you can pinch it, you can do little circular motions, whatever feels comfortable for you. Then we're just going to milk, I call it milking, but we're going to create a little bit of space in each one of our fingers. So you're grabbing at the first knuckle, pulling slightly so that we're creating a little bit of space, and then just massaging the entire way, sort of kneading our fingers. So we're just going to apply that to each one. You can take as long as you want on each one of your fingers. Alrighty, now we've warmed up everything. We're just going to do a little bit of deep tissue work in our forearm. So I'm going to place my forearm on my leg, and I'm going to take my right elbow and I'm going to place it in the crease just below. You don't want to place it right in your elbow because that's a sensitive area. So just below, in that tissue between that we're talking about, and we're going to apply as much pressure as we feel comfortable with, running down from our elbow and running down to our wrist. Now this is going to give us a fascial release and also help relieve tension in our forearms. It's going to uncoil those tendons and those ligaments and promote blood flow. And it is not uncommon for your fingers to start twitching as you get close to your wrist, because all of those tendons and ligaments attach through our wrist and down into our forearm. So I'm going to do that a couple of times. And you might find you can go deeper each time as we're warming up the tissue. After that, I like to just flip my arm around and work on the lateral side of your forearm. This is not such a meaty area, so you might have to move around a little bit to find the muscle on the lateral part of our forearm. But this muscle is our extensor muscle, and it gets worked a lot as well. So we're just going to use our thumb, running down from our elbow, down to our wrist, just pinching as we go to stretch out the fascia all over our forearm. This is probably a more sensitive side, so we don't need to apply quite as much pressure. So I like to end just doing a little bit more effleurage, going from our elbow all the way down to our fingers. And then just to create a little bit of space in our wrist, we're going to grab a hold of our wrist and we're going to pull our left elbow away from our wrist. Now be very careful, because we're not trying to dislocate anything. We're not trying to be really rough with ourselves. We're just trying to create a little bit of space in our wrist so we're not compressed. So you hold that for about 15 to 20 seconds, not for too long. And some people might even find they feel a tiny little click in their wrist. That's not to worry about at all, but just apply as much pressure as you feel comfortable with. Amazing. So once you've done that, you can just reawaken all of your muscles with some quick movements, bit of effleurage, milking out your hands. And you'll feel, I've just done my left hand, it feels so much looser than the right. It can move through the full range of motion, and my hand is warmer on my left side than my right. So you can see how important it is that we are promoting blood flow through our limbs and that we are releasing our muscles to prevent injury. Thank you for listening, guys. Join me tomorrow and we'll be working on releasing tension in our calves.